Hello, my dear students, and the rest of the learners. Welcome to part 13 of a 7-part series of tutorials in computer structured programming in C and Pascal. This is section 2 of 3 in the topic program writing. My name is Memende M, or you can simply call me Emily Swap. This tutorial will focus on error handling in reference to the introduction to bugs, debugging of programs in C and Pascal, as well as error handler modules. Let's look at what bugs are. It is unavoidable for a programmer, especially a new programmer or a learner like you, not to make some errors when writing programs. An error is therefore a bug in programming. Bugs in a program may result from either the typing mistakes, lack of knowledge of the syntax of the programming language, an incorrect algorithm, an error in the logic of the program. So, programs with bugs are those programs or those source codes that do not compile successfully, or those that compile but do not generate any output. They also include those programs or source code that generate some output but they terminate abruptly. They also include those that generate wrong results. Those also that do not terminate at all. They run continuously without stopping. Some of the many ways through which bugs can be detected include desk checking the program by yourself or making use of debugging is. One thing you need to remember is that you, as the programmer, is responsible for error handling. And my dear students and the rest of the learners, kindly remember to go through the previous series in these presentations or previous parts, especially the one in which we discussed on program testing and debugging as part of the phases in program development lifecycle that we covered earlier, because I discussed and demonstrated on how you do desk checking. So you are the person that needs to make sure that a program will gracefully terminate and not just crash unexpectedly. It is you that need to take appropriate action depending on the returned values of functional calls. However, once you code your program in the editor, you can make use of debugging aids to help you handle errors. Debugging aids are provided for by the IDE in a programming language. These include utilities like a debugger, a profiler, amongst others that we looked at under the program testing and debugging. Some debugging utilities provided by a programming language, such as Pascal, include debugging, or in other words, those that we find under the debugging menu include step through. My dear students and the rest of the learners, whenever you want to debug any program that you have coded in Pascal, you can find the various debugging facilities or utilities under the debugging menu. And therefore, you just need to click on the debug menu in Pascal. And then you are going to see some of the following. Number 1 is step through submenu. It indicates the execution of your program one step or one statement at a time. So when you click on step through, your program is executed one statement at a time. And therefore, you are able to see which statement has a problem. Secondly, we have breakpoints. The execution of a program can be paused at a particular point by placing a breakpoint at that location. Then we have watches. The variables of interest can be watched while the user is stepping through the statements of the program. Number 4, we have evaluate submenu. Expressions can be evaluated at any step during the execution of a program. That is when the program has been stopped at a breakpoint or when the program is being executed in the step through mode. So syntax errors are usually detected by the compiler during program compilation. The compiler usually displays the relevant error message, and it may take the cursor at a certain point where there is an error in the program. When such an error occurs, the programmer has to debug the program and then compile it again. The compiler translates each high-level instruction into several machine code instructions in a process called compilation, and it produces a complete independent program that can be run by the computer as often as required without the original source program being present. After compilation, the computer flags off all the errors in the program by creating a list of errors. Hence, the programmer must return to the source code and fix all the errors. When the syntax errors are reported in C during compilation, you can double-click an error listed under the errors or reports section so as to see the part of the code that needs to be debugged, and then you can click on that part of the code and debug as necessary. In order to trace the specific components that are causing a program to misbehave, you can make use of the debugging tools. In case you execute a program and you find out that it does not terminate, always press ESC key in the keyboard, and this will enable you to go back to its source code and debug. As a programmer, it's always good to integrate within your program certain interactive instructions that tell the user of the program what he or she should do. For example, when he or she makes a wrong entry. Also, integrate within your code instructions that validate any entry made so that the program only accepts valid entries. In case a wrong entry is made, the program should give the user an opportunity to re-enter the value or retry. In addition, ensure that as you develop your source code, you give the users of the program a chance to verify whatever choices they make before the program accepts the choice and undertakes the required task. Another way of handling errors in a program is to include a special module that deals with error handling, which we call an error handler. One of the best ways to handle errors in Pascal or even in C is to include within your program an error handler or error handling code. So what is an error handler module? One of the big differences between code you write for yourself and the code you write for others is the quality of the runtime error handling. Your users will be much happier if you handle runtime errors gracefully. Gracefully means not destroying their data and preventing system crashes when errors occur that are nobody's fault. Your users have no recourse when your program misbehaves. They cannot debug or fix the code as you can. For this reason, the part of being, or as part of being professional, ensure that you include error handling procedures within your code. So simply put, part of being professional is handling runtime errors. Unfortunately, writing error handling code is one of the more boring and tedious tasks that application programmers do. It therefore pays to simplify the writing of error handling code as much as possible by capturing repeated code in a separate module and using it throughout your application. This has two additional benefits. Number one, it gives you an opportunity to put your application's mark on the error handling rather than defer the system, compiler, or possibly third-party libraries. Secondly, it eliminates the need for a separate console window for debug messages during development. If you have gone to the trouble to create an attractive interface for displaying errors to the end user, it's surely good enough for you. Typically, you may have to do 4 things to handle an error. 1 is checking for the error. 2 is to report the error to the end user. 3 is to clean up the error. Number 4 is to exit from the field procedure or function. So the main goals for the error handler module include: number 1, the work error handling procedures should be short and easy to use, consistent with the performance and reliability. If these procedures are not easy to use, then they probably would be. Number 2, it should be easy for a client to write the error handling code without introducing programming errors. It is very annoying when a low frequency problem occurs and the users get the wrong error messages, or worse, no error message at all. Also, the error handling code that executes after an error is detected should not itself cause crashes or destroy the user's data. This could be adding insult to injury. Number 3, the execution of the code should be efficient in the absence of detected errors. However, it is not so important for the code that displays the error and cleans up the mess to be efficient. It's much more important that this code is correct and that it succeeds. Number 4, the error handling module should be as complete as possible. We should have a convenient way to handle non-fatal, recoverable errors, as well as fatal programming errors or bugs. Number 5, memory mismanagement is a common type of error in programming languages without garbage collection. For this reason, the error handler should not try to allocate memory after an error is detected. This can be avoided by allocating and locking all memory required by the error handler early in the startup process. In summary, our error handler module should have the following characteristics. Number 1, implementation of error handling should be easy for the client. Number 2, using the error handler should not or should be error prone or should not be error prone. In other words, using the error handler should not have errors itself. Number 3, normal successful execution should be efficient. The fourth characteristic is that it should handle everything from non-fatal errors to programming errors. Number 5, error reporting should be safe even when memory is low. Usually, C programming does not provide direct support for error handling, but being a system programming language, it provides you access at lower level in the form of what we call the return values. Most of the C or even Unix function calls return -1 or null in the case of an error and sets an error code Arno, which is set as a global variable and indicates an error occurred during any function call. You can find various error codes defined in the header file called error, that is error.h header file. So a C programmer can check the returned values and can take appropriate action depending on the return value. As a good practice, developers should set Arno to 0 at the time of initialization of the program. A value of 0 indicates that there is no error in the program. The C programming language provides para and str functions which can be used to display the text message associated with the Arno. The para function displays the string you pass to it, followed by a colon, a space, and then the textual representation of the current Arno value. The star function, which returns a pointer to the textual representation of the current Arno value. In C, it is a common practice to exit with a value of exit success. In the case of programming, coming out after a successful operation. I repeat, in C, it is a common practice to exit with a value of exit underscore success. That's a function, a reserved function with a reserved work. In C, in case of a programming error, that's coming out. In other words, let me rephrase it in a better way. In C, it is a common practice to exit with a value of exit success if the programming has been successful. That is, if a programming operation, which includes also the execution operation, has been successful. So it's good to have that message displayed, exit success. Here, exit success is a macro and it is defined as 0. Exit underscore success is a macro and it is defined as 0. So it's a one that is reserved for a special purpose. However, if you have an error condition in your program and you are coming out, then you should exit with a status, exit failure, which is defined as -1. And with that, my dear students and the rest of the learners, we have come to the end of section 2 of 3 in this topic. You can now continue and listen to section 3 of 3 in this topic, which is the next part in this series of presentations. Congratulations for learning section 2 of 3 of the topic program writing. You can also access section 1 and 3 of this topic, other topics in the computer structured programming unit, as well as other computer or ICT videos by clicking or tapping on MLSwap ICT YouTube channel below this video. You can also visit MLSwap Life Skills YouTube channel for free life skills, motivational and inspirational resources. To subscribe to the channel, tap on subscribe button below this video in YouTube if it's not currently reading as subscribed. For any further correspondence, kindly write to us through the email emilyswap@gmail.com. Thank you very much for listening to me, and let's meet in the next part of this series. God bless.